Hey there, gang. Magic's latest Universe Beyond set gave us a bunch of amazing new commander options, but one in particular bends the rules of the game in a way that can only be described as metal. Welcome to Head Games.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is a Zombie Apocalypse, and I'm in a metal band with Toph, and she calls me Steve. And by the way, I play the triangle in that band.
Okay.
Yeah. The more you know about me, you know?
Welcome, friends, opponents. I'm Jetterex, and I once got in a fight with a pile of dirt. It won by a landslide.
Is it true that it fought dirty, though?
Around here, they just call me Tim.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that dirt fought dirty. Thank you for joining us today on the Head Games Commander podcast, where we spotlight some of our favorite commanders from Magic the Gathering. But before we get started, it would be super metal of you if you could hit that like and subscribe button down below. And most importantly of all, if you shared it with your friends, it would be super dope. Tim, who are we shining our spotlight on today?
Today, we are spotlighting Toph, the first Metalbender. In this episode, we'll describe the deck strategy, share what we love about the commander, and there's a lot to love here. Highlight some of our favorite cards from the deck, as we very much like to do.
So today's deck was built by our good friend Tim, and it is in the Avatar Last Airbender main set. So who is it, and what's the bracket talk about it?
So Toph, the first Metalbender, is a Naya commander for the uninitiated. That's red, green, and white as far as our color identity goes. 4 mana total, 1, a red, a green, and a white for a 3/3 human warrior ally. It reads, non-token artifacts you control are lands in addition to their other types. They don't gain the mana ability. It says that specifically on the card. They're just lands. They get the type. At the beginning of your end step, Earthbend 2. And I'm going to read what this does, but there's going to be a lot of conversation about how this actually works. So Earthbend reads, target land you control becomes a 0/0 creature with haste that's still a land. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. So there's a lot to talk about earthbending. I think it's just going to come up in the conversation, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it here. So again, we're trying to we're trying to play useful artifacts in the deck because they're also going to be lands. So we're going to use them to trigger landfall abilities or just anything else that cares about the land type. And then at the end step, Toph's going to be earthbending stuff, which makes it so that if it dies, we get it back, so we can create this not infinite loop by any stretch, but a recurrable loop every turn. And obviously, there's lots of other earthbending cards in the deck as well. So the idea is to make recurrable effects happen by sacrificing our stuff and having it come back into play. As far as Rule Zero bracket talk, this deck has currently three game changers in it. We've talked a lot about how like a lot of our stuff falls in this like 3.5 category. I would feel pretty good playing this at a 4 table. I think it's quite strong. I think it's, and there's a lot of reasons why why I say that, but you and I build decks really similarly where it's like, I really like 3 game changers feels like the right amount in a deck. Like having that kind of like pseudo limitation that, technically makes it a 3, but we know spiritually it feels more like a 4. It just feels right. And there probably are some others that would find a good place in this deck, but the 3 that I put in here were all very deliberate, and we'll see why as they come up today. So yeah, Rule Zero, I would say about how it is an Artifacts Matter deck, how it is an Earthbending deck, that I do put combos in my deck, although that's not necessarily what it's trying to do. It's trying to create enough value that I can overrun my opponents, but it's also capable of going for the combo finish as well. Yeah, so next we'll talk about strengths and weaknesses of the deck. We got to see it in action at least a little bit so far, so I'll let Zombie go here first and tell us a little bit about what you think are the strengths of the deck, what you think are some areas where it lacks a little.
Man, let me tell you, This deck is strong. Like it is super resilient. It protects itself so well from board wipes because it's not even just when it dies, it also has if it was exiled clause as well. So like even your path to exiles or swords to plowshares, like the stuff comes back. So like even like farewell, that's pretty cool. You can't really say that it's not. Um so it's super resilient when it comes to things like that. And there's just some powerful cards. Like the three game changers that you chose all fit in this deck so well. Um the one in particular that I kind of want to talk about here is Field of the Dead. Like the artifacts you cast are lands too, so you're just getting even more 2/2 zombies. And yes, they're untapped because this card is strong.
And you're also getting to the number faster.
Oh,
You're getting to
so
the
much
magic
faster.
number 7 so much faster because it's different names. And since it's a singleton format, every artifact in the game is going to have a different name because it's all non-tokens.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're going to get to that number to get the zombies much faster.
So I will say one of the weaknesses of the deck is it needs its commander to earthbend things as well as it can. And if your artifacts aren't lands, like you're not getting as many landfall triggers, you're not earthbending your powerful artifacts, preventing them from going away forever. So it can do fine without it. There is other cards that earthbend, and there's some that we'll talk about later that are just disgusting. But kill his commander 4 times and it's still not enough, by the way. I know that from experience.
Ask me how I know.
ask us how we know. Um
Mhm.
uh there was mistakes made that game, but it was late and it's okay. So those are the strengths and weaknesses as I see it. I'm pretty sure Tim definitely has a lot more to add on that. So Tim, what are the strengths and weaknesses in your opinion?
I definitely want to touch base at least a little bit on some of the stuff you said. I wouldn't say it didn't occur to me, but I think your emphasis is really valuable here. That having something that makes exile less impactful is really strong, and that's what makes earthbending such a unique mechanic. Because there's so few things in the deck that make it so even if you exile this, I'm still gonna get it back. And
Yep.
not only is it not going to remove it in the way that you want, I'm immediately going to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's on its face, earthbending is incredibly potent. And I totally agree with you that when you have the commander on board, the deck does 100% of what it's trying to do. And without it, you can't earthbend artifacts, and that drastically changes the lines that you have available. So that it really, and I feel like we mentioned this weakness quite a lot, and that has a lot to do with the way that we build decks. Like
Right.
we build decks very much centered around the commander. So it is my deck is doing 100% of what it's trying to do when my commander is on the battlefield, and if it's not, chances are it's not going to be able to.
Yeah.
As far as strengths that come up for me, what I want to say about this deck is just a shift in my own deck building that has a lot to do with us being kind of amateur content creators and working recently on paying attention to the way, like, we have this format, you and I, and anybody who's listening to us, that we have been using to kind of judge the way that we're building decks. And I take that into consideration when I'm brewing new decks. And I really have been pushing myself to include more effective interaction in the deck. And it really shows in a deck like this.
Yeah.
And the best part about it is that it helped me make choices of like what synergy card to pick,
Mm-hmm.
like to keep when I was making cuts. It's like, well, if this synergy card is falling into one of those basic categories, I'm more likely to now keep it in the deck.
Yeah.
And it really kind of helps you make cuts in a more thoughtful way. So, and because of that, the card synergy in this deck is very high. All of the cards, I mean, most of the cards have this remarkable interweaving with all of the other cards. They just all work together incredibly well, and they create some very interesting play patterns as a result, which I find to be just an enormous amount of fun. And we all know that landfall is strong.
Yeah.
Like we all know it so much that it's kind of a meme, and then something people sometimes get salty about, where they're like, "Oh, I don't want to play against landfall decks because they're easy mode," or well, whatever kind of criticism they want to levy at it. And the reason for that is it's just inherently powerful. You're taking something that you want to do in the game anyway and getting extra value out of it.
You're
And
rewarding
and
good
whenever
behavior.
right, rewarding. That's exactly what a great way of saying it. Yes, you are rewarding good behavior, and any kind of deck that is built around that, where it's like you're going to be doing this anyway.
Oh.
Now you're going to get extra benefit out of it. It really is remarkable, and making it so that all your artifacts trigger landfall. It turns out that that is really powerful. So both halves of the card are quite strong.
Now, I do want to add this real quick before we go to the next section. You don't lean too heavily in the landfall side of things, which is, I don't know if I want to call it like a breath of fresh air for a landfall based deck, but it's not the I'm gonna get Scoot Swarm out and just overflood the board. Like you didn't do the normal. I'm just gonna have 100 different tokens of every different type because
Yeah,
that's the most common thing that happens with landfall. Um,
yeah.
so the fact that you avoided that is actually like I want to commend you for that because
I guess
it would have
I
been
guess
so
I
easy to just put like an Omnath in here and
yeah.
put put the 6-drop,
Avengers, Zendikar,
like just
yeah,
putting all of that
Baloth.
stuff and then just going hog wild that way. Like it's totally something that this deck could do. And the fact that you didn't and you went with a different line of play, it's just chef's kiss.
Let me add an asterisk here. There are 100% cards in this deck that say landfall and do landfall things, and there's even landfall cards that create tokens.
Yeah.
I just didn't lean fully into that. Have all of the landfall creatures that make tokens. A couple of the obvious usual suspects are not in here, and it is partially because I wanted to lean into the earthbending artifacts and recurring them for value. That was the basis of the deck, so I did do that. Before we move on, I do want to talk about a couple things that I think are weaknesses. The first one is that earthbending is incredibly complicated, and I mean I'm sure somebody's going to argue with me about that and say, "Oh, it's not that hard," but I just got to tell you, having played with it enough, if you're not playing on Arena where it's doing all the thinky work for you, you're gonna make a mistake. Like the timing is gonna happen wrong. Like it should be coming back before one of the other triggers goes off. It just makes for very complicated stack messes. And so spend some time thinking about that if you're going to play an earthbending deck. I don't know what other advice to give people. Like do some gold fishing, but play the
Right.
deck because you're going to run into you're going to run into play patterns that don't necessarily make sense on their face, and you're going to and again, we have a gameplay video attached for this commander, and I 100% make mistakes with my own cards to such an extent where where I'm essentially cheating, where I'm doing things that
Yep.
I think are wrong in retrospect, but at the time I just didn't think it through. And late night, complicated game state, all that's true. Earthbending's complicated. It's easy to make mistakes.
Yep.
So if you think you can do something a certain way, maybe you're wrong. So and another weakness occurred to me as we were working on the script for this episode, and there's a high possibility that we're never going to get earthbending cards again.
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, and there are a couple of scenarios. One of them being that if the cash cow of Universes Beyond, if the money machine continues to go burr, we could see a Legend of Korra set in the future
Yeah.
because it's got just as much like lore. It's a 3-season cartoon as well. Like, and really, we've already seen them revisit places that they visited once already in Universes Beyond. So, do I think there's a possibility we'll get a Legend of Korra? I do. But there's also a very real possibility that we don't. A very real possibility that we never see another earthbending card.
Right.
So that means the only way this deck gets better or changes is with different utility artifacts,
Yep.
different utility lands. But the earthbending core that's in it right now might be all we get. So I just realized that like there's a part of me that's like, that's a little sad, and that means
It's
the deck
almost like this
might
deck is complete. Like
it's
there's
almost like
not
it's done
much you can
already.
add to it. Yeah.
We'll see. New landfall cards could change it. New
Yeah.
artifacts could change it, but new busted earthbending things. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see. Like, let's keep our fingers crossed
Well,
for Legend of
I
Korra.
don't know. They also might do like something along the lines where they make it like an in Magic version of it. It might not be
That'd be
called
interesting.
earthbending, but they could do something like that as well. Um, the likelihood is pretty
Fascinating.
low, but there's
Yeah.
design space there that it's plausible. I wouldn't knock on like I wouldn't hold your breath or bet your life savings on it, but
I think it's more likely that we get a Legend of Korra set than they
yeah,
do an in-universe version of
right.
this. Because again, like now that we've seen Earthbending in action, there's a whole cadre of people who are like, that's not okay. We
It's
shouldn't do
too
that
good.
again.
It's too good. So now we're gonna dive into what we call the basics. So Tim is gonna go ahead and give us the list of basics and how many of each type or how many cards are in that category. So Tim, what are the basics?
Okay, card draw. There are 15 cards in this category. Ramp. There are 18 cards in this category. Single targeted interaction, I've got 12. And I just want to add here, that's a bit of a stretch, but I believe 12 is the number I ended up with. And then finally, mass interaction, there are 6.
Yeah, we counted it like 3 times and got 7 different numbers. So
Yeah.
uh,
It's
it's a stretch.
when I say that it's a stretch, it's like what you consider to be single targeted interaction. Our definition of this has kind of changed over time, and we're really like if it is something on your board that's interacting with a single other thing on one of your opponent's board, even if that's a spell, then there is, I think, a meaningful reason to include that on this list. But there's a lot of obviously, yes, this definitely counts, but there's a couple that are like maybe this counts, maybe it doesn't.
No, I'm actually really impressed because usually not that you don't run a lot of like interaction or anything, but usually I'm sitting at like 6 single targeted interaction and like 3 mass interaction. The fact that you
Yep.
got it all the way up to 6, you got it all the way up to 12, like we're talking my numbers now.
Yeah. And I have to give credit here, like some of the deck building
Mhm.
kind of archetypes from other content creators. I don't mind shouting out the Command Zone here. The
Yep.
last time that they did a like here's the format for that you should really kind of be asking yourself if you're close to this. Really helped me re-look at the way that I was building decks, and that's kind of what I've been shooting for. At 12 single targeted interactions, 6 mass interactions, and again in this deck, the things that I chose for those spots, most of them are also synergy pieces, so it ended up working out really well. All right, let's get into highlighting some of these cards as we'd like to do. So first category up is card draw. Steve, tell us what card you think is worth talking about.
So this card normally wouldn't be in this category.
Or in any list.
Or in any list for that matter, because let's be perfectly honest, time was not very kind to this card, and the card we're talking about is Command Sphere. It is the 3 mana artifact that says tap, add a mana of any color in your commander's color identity, and then it also says sacrifice Command Sphere, draw a card. Hey Tim, so what happens to a card that is Earthbend and it goes either into the graveyard or exile?
Comes back into the battlefield tapped.
Oh my god! Turns out that's really strong. Um, yeah, man. I just love seeing this card, and like even in not so Magic Christmas Land, it could be tap, add a mana, and draw 2 cards. Like you don't have to necessarily bring it back the second time, but for 3 mana, gain 1 mana and draw 2 cards. That seems pretty solid to me. It's like a divination with ramp.
It's just one card.
Well, no, I'm
It's just
saying
one card.
like if it was Earthbent, you
So you could, if you
yeah,
if you sacrificed it twice, you could get 2 cards out
right.
of it. If you were desperate, you could. You're right.
Yeah.
So the reason that this is I think such an important include is it has a quality that you really look for in the artifacts you include in this deck, which is an artifact that can sacrifice itself. It doesn't require any other kind of sacrifice outlet in order to work. So this on 3 equals you get Toph on 4 with a mana to spare. And if you earthbend this, you can sacrifice it and draw an additional card. That I know that that only seems like an incremental amount of value, but it is precisely what this deck is trying to do. It wants to have something on board other than a land that Toph can earthbend for value on that very first turn that you cast her, and then from there you're going to continue to move forward. So getting that one extra card per turn, let's talk about Phyrexian Arena, things of
Mm-hmm.
that nature. Like one extra card per turn over the course of the game is a huge incremental advantage.
Yeah.
So this fills that spot fairly well. I think that it certainly belongs in the list.
Oh, I love it. Super sweet. All right, Tim, what's your card draw pick?
So I think this one's really crucial. And again, same quality, only draws one additional card each turn, but the rest of the upside is what makes it so brutal. This is Tanuk, the Memorial Ensign. This is a red and a green for a 2/4 Kavu pilot. It's a legendary creature. It has landfall. And it says whenever a land you control enters, Tanuk deals 1 damage to each opponent. If this is the second time this ability is resolved, draw a card. So this is part of of several different combos that turn your landfalls into damage. And then if you get at least 2 landfalls, which remember in this deck, if your commander is out, that means a land, and you cast an artifact, and now you're drawing a card, or any of the fetch lands are
Yep.
drawing you a card the second time they come in. But also the upside being that whenever a land, artifact, or land, if your commander's on the battlefield, enters, you're also doing a damage to all of your opponents. So very, very incremental advantage with the card draw. But remember, you can get it on your opponent's turns as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's super solid. Because like even
Mhm.
if it's one of those things where it's like you have a uncracked fetch land or something and you
Yep.
sacrifice an artifact, it comes back, it's a land, you like I could see you easily drawing 2 cards per turn cycle relatively easy with this card. And
You just mentioned a trick, so I got to point this out here. And people might suggest that this is suboptimal, but I don't think it necessarily is. But you can earthbend a fetch land. And
gross.
then when you activate the fetch land, it brings itself back and whatever land it fetched out. So if you earthbend a fetch land and then pass the turn and Tanuks out, activating the fetch land draws you a card.
Oh, that makes me want to like change my cards to consider. Because like that right there makes me want to I'm going to spoil the card that I'm thinking about, Spelunking or Amulet of Vigor, where
Yeah.
even Amulet of Vigor would be really good in this list, but it's a really
Yep.
expensive card. But if your lands are coming back untapped, like
Yep.
that makes that fetch land trick even better
Even better. That's right. That's right.
because it's ramp now.
Hmm.
Yeah. Kill him, he's ramping.
Yeah, and there is at least one card that's similar to what you're describing. Neither of those other ones made it in here. Amulet because it's too
Mhm.
expensive. Spelunking because I just didn't have room for it.
Sure.
I was messing around with it at some point,
Mhm.
but I think the card that you're going to talk about next really takes the Spelunking spot.
It
So
really does. Okay. So the card that I'm talking about is called Earthbender's Ascension. Okay, it's a 3 mana enchantment. It says when this enchantment enters Earthbend 2, then search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle. Then it says landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, put a quest counter on this enchantment. When you do, if it has 4 or more quest counters on it, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains trample until end of turn. So, to me, there's never a reason to run Cultivate or Kodama's Reach ever again. Because on turn 3, I would rather have this card hit the battlefield, get me a creature that when it dies, it comes back. Also, um, after 4 lands enter, it starts just pumping your team and giving your team trample for free for just doing the things you're supposed to be doing. And
mhm.
that extra land that you get in your hand that replaces the cultivate does not equal that extra value that you're getting from that second half of this ability. And the fact that it's 3 and it sticks around, and let me tell you, Enchantress's decks don't need more ways to get better, but this kind of does it. It like does it really, really well. So, and
Yeah,
this card's sick
yeah.
nasty.
Trample being in the last line of that text is the overlooked part of this. This was a bit of a sleeper. It was a very underutilized card when the first set first came out, but it started popping off in standard a little bit as people realized just how much it does. And I think that you're about to see the same thing in Commander, where people are including this because again, even if you're not in an earthbending deck, right? Even if you were in a mono green list, this would still have a fair amount of impact because now one of your lands is also a 2/2 creature that has counters, and sometimes the colors care about that as well. So the fact,
Yep.
there's just so much upside to this. And again, obviously a good include here. Toph's on the dang card, but also just fits very well with everything the card's trying to do. It's just good ramp for this deck.
Also, there's a giant badger in the art, which is pretty freaking dope. Never mess with the
Yeah,
honey
I mean,
badger.
yeah, it's a badger mole.
Even better. It's so big. So big. Alrighty, Tim. Now that we talked about my ramp card. By the way, if you haven't figured this out, we're in the ramp category now.
Mm.
So now we're gonna go with Tim's ramp card and go ahead and regale us with this awesome card.
So this is why I had to say then this, because you were like, oh, you didn't put any landfall in the deck, and both of the first two cards I talked about actually have the word landfall on them, and
Yep.
so did yours, so did Earthbender Ascension. Anyway, so a lot of the landfall cards that I put in here are ramp cards, are like allowing me to kind of really lurch forward, and this is one of them. It is Nissa Resurgent Animist. This is a kind of pumped up Lotus Cobra. It's 2 into green for a 3/3 elf scout. When a land enters, add 1 mana of any color. Then, if this is the second time this ability is resolved, reveal cards from the top of your library till you hit an elf or an elemental. Then put that card into your hand, the rest on the bottom in a random order. So this is a Lotus Cobra that draws you an extra card for however many elves and elementals you have, as long as you can trigger it twice each turn, or as long as you can trigger it twice, which, as we've already established, is fairly easy for this deck to do. So, do you want to take a stab at how many elves and elementals I have in the deck?
3. I just counted.
It's 3.
It's 3.
Which
And
me, and they're all
stupid good.
really strong. One of them is Tireless Provisioner, which happens to be an elf, which is another get treasures when you landfall card. So you're getting extra ramp. So you either get another ramp piece or you get the elementals in the deck that are incredibly powerful for other reasons. Now, there's only 3, so at some point you stop getting that benefit and you just have to shuffle your library, which is a little annoying, but whatever. She's still a Lotus Cobra after that. And really, once you've got a couple, like once you have Lotus Cobra and Nissa and the Tireless Provisioner, you don't get infinite mana, but you might as well.
Now, I will say this, after the third time and your library is empty, we get to see what's left in your library. Because it is revealing cards until you reveal an elf or an elemental card. Then you put it into your hand. So so we do get to see your library. So we know what's left. So we know exactly how we're gonna die.
Yeah.
Because if you ran out, I think we're winning. I think you're winning soon.
I don't mind showing you. If I've hit the 3 things already, yeah, everybody's in trouble.
Yeah, I think the game's over at that point.
Next category is single targeted interaction.
All right. So, I was being spiteful when I picked this card because I know Tim picks this card every freaking time and I want a turn to talk about it. Okay. We're talking about Haywire Might. It is a 1 mana artifact, creature, insect. It's a 1/1 that says whenever he dies, you gain 2 life. That's the important part. Okay, guys? No, I'm just kidding. It says green, sacrifice Haywire Might. Exile target non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantment. So Tim, we were discussing about earthbending before.
Right.
And when your commander's out, it's a land, right?
Yeah, so Haywire Might's a land when my commander's out, which means you can earthbend it.
Oh no. He's just machine gunning them all away. Pew 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 pew. Uh, the synergy with like, don't get me wrong, this card's really good on its own.
Yep.
But when you get to reuse it as often as this deck can reuse its artifacts, the fact that it sacrifices itself is super strong, and it's not destroy. It is exile. Yes, you can't hit creature versions of artifacts. Boo hoo, but it's only costing you 1 green.
Yep.
It exiles.
Yeah, it does. And you gain a little life. I will say that that non-creature clause does limit it.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot, because it also means I can't target most of my own artifacts, because they are also like, most of my artifacts are creatures, or if they're earthbent, then they're creatures.
Yep.
So I can't do fun tricks like that, but it doesn't matter. The opportunity cost of including this card in your deck is already low to begin with. Any deck that can recur this in any way ought to consider this as an artifact and enchantment removal, especially like when you treat it as this is just here for pesky artifacts and enchantments, not necessarily for creatures. There's other things we can use to deal with creatures.
But yeah, this card is absolutely stellar. If you are running any deck that can bring artifacts back from your graveyard, and you're in green, this needs to be in your list. So, Tim, what's your single targeted interaction?
I love about this card is I don't get to use it very often because it's a 3-color card, but it fits into this deck very well, and just about any other Naya commander as well. Talking about Annie Joins Up. This is from our favorite cowboy hat wearing set. It's 1, a red, a green, and a white, total of 4 mana. It's a legendary enchantment. When it enters, deal 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. If the triggered ability of a legendary creature you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time.
Gross.
I didn't include this as one of my deck objective categories of the like doubling, because there's a non-zero amount of them. There's not a huge amount of them, but there are a few, and this is one of them, because again, opportunity cost. It probably is going to deal with a decent threat. 5 damage is enough to take out a utility creature, or frankly, most commanders.
Yeah.
So really, this is excellent for that reason. And if I cast this before I play Toph, Toph triggers twice on the very first turn she's out. Or if I cast Toph and then I cast this later, on that very end step, I'm going to get 2 more Earthbend triggers. And I promise, even if I'm just hitting lands, the value
That's
is still
scary enough.
gigantic. Yep.
That's scary enough, because like I will say this, when this deck is earthbending, it is not going to be making one land really, really big. It is going to earthbend as many things as possible. It is trying to go wide, because the amount of value you get when all that stuff comes back is way better than having a 15/15 land.
Just so.
So yeah, this card's incredible, and the reason why I think it works so well is because all the creatures that you have that have important triggers, not all of them, but most of them that have triggers, are going to be legendary to begin with.
That's right.
Tanuk is a prime example of that. Like, you play one land, you draw a card because it's triggering twice.
Yep.
Like it's super good. All your Tophs are legendary creatures. And even just like Bristly Bill, where you're just like making him like stupid big. It's crazy good.
The Nissa I just talked about.
The Nissa we just talked about. Like all of it. Like
yep.
You did a very good job of choosing like a decent amount of legendary creatures that have triggered abilities.
Yep.
So there's like, I'm looking at all your legendary creatures. I think there's only one that doesn't have a triggered ability. And that was Ashaya. But Ashaya is really good for a very different reason. So it doesn't need to double that, because what it's already doing is probably winning you the game anyway.
And you can just consider that upside, right? Like that Annie Joins Up also doubles the triggers of all those other creatures in my deck. It's just in there to double my commander's triggers.
Yeah.
If that's all that it did, it might still make the list. The fact that it also does it for all 4 of the other Toph cards in the deck and all of the other, all the other legendary creatures -1 maybe
Right.
is just upside.
Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and dive into mass interaction. And the card that I'm about to read to you guys, I'm pretty sure made me cry myself to sleep the other night. Um, we're talking about Oblivion Stone. Um, it's a 3-mana artifact that says you can pay 4, put a fate counter on target permanent, or you can pay 5, sacrifice Oblivion Stone, destroy each non-land permanent with a fate counter on it, then remove all fate counters from permanents. Funny story, this isn't going to destroy your artifacts even if your commander's out, because it specifically says non-land, and there are lands when this ability is resolving. So like you don't need to put fate counters on your artifacts. I don't know if you thought of that on purpose, but I did want to ask, is there a particular reason why you went with Oblivion Stone and maybe not like Nevinroll's Disc?
I
Because
mean, the
it
first one
costs
being
mana less, but it does enter tap.
right. So the first one being that Oblivion Stone only costs 3 to play instead of
Mhm.
4. Honestly, I think that I've thought long and hard about the disc. I thought long and hard about it, and I still believe that if I really thought that I needed more actual board wipes and not
Mhm.
just mass interaction, yeah, I 100% open to thinking about including it. I think that this one, because it has the fate counter piece, right?
Uh-huh.
If you have enough time to stick around with it, you can get the fate counter on Toph and then make sure that everything survives, including Toph.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm partial to this one, I guess. It's probably just a little bit of bias. And if you have enough mana, you can play this and activate it on the same turn.
Yeah, so I mean it's 8 mana to do it just on the turn that you play it, where Nevinroll's Disc you do have to wait until the next turn to
Yep.
activate it, which makes a huge difference, but it is 5 mana overall instead of
Mhm.
4 or 3 then 5. But man,
Here's the other piece. Here's the other piece. O Stone gets planeswalkers.
oh, I thought Nevinroll's Disc, I guess it does just say artifact enchantments and stuff like that.
Creatures,
Because it doesn't
I believe.
sacrifice itself, it just destroys itself.
Right. Which again, with Toph out, means
Because it
that it
doesn't
doesn't destroy
yeah,
itself.
it doesn't say non-land either. So like I think the Oblivion Stone saying non-land makes it way better. Now that I'm talking through it,
Yep.
because like you don't want to destroy your artifacts unless if you have to. But like if you're making them if your board wipe says non-land, it's not going to touch them even if they are creatures on top of it. So
Right.
I guess that makes it a lot better. And yes,
Yeah,
this
I
says
think that
planeswalkers. So
all of those are like kind of marginal, right?
yeah,
They're out here at the margins. These are these tiny little details that may make one better than the other a little bit. And ultimately, like Oblivion Stone, I came across it first and
yeah,
was like, oh, I think that this works in this interesting way. So it was the one that got in there. The disc entering tapped always comes into my mind. I want something that I'm going to be able to use immediately. Again, such a marginal choice. You could use either, but I prefer this one.
yeah. I think. But as I said, as we're talking through it, I think this is the better of the two choices. Now that I've like actually thought about it. Alrighty, we've talked enough about Oblivion Stone, and I'm probably going to cry myself to sleep while you're talking about your card.
So we want to remind everybody that when we talk about mass interaction, obviously we are talking about things that we call board wipes, like Oblivion Stone, but we also consider things to be like if you have a mass protection spell that's going to protect your whole board. We also consider that to be in this category as well. And this deck has several of those. All of them synergize really well. This one I think is probably the most interesting, and it is Inspiring Call. What I love about this is that the deck allowed me to use a couple of cards that like were at some point commander kind of staples that have fallen out of favor,
Mhm.
and now I got to slide them back into this deck because they just work so well.
Yeah,
So Inspiring Call, 2 and a green. It's an instant. Draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Those creatures gain indestructible. So I gotta tell you, I put this in the category of mass interaction, but this is a card draw spell.
it very much is.
It's very much a card draw spell, and I'm going to fling this as a card draw spell a lot because I have a lot of effects, Earthbender Ascension, Bristly Bill, that put counters on my creatures, as well as the Earthbending effects, which also give my lands +1/+1 counters. So I usually end up with +1/+1 counters on 3, 4 creatures, 3 mana instant speed to draw 3 or 4. I'll take that.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Main reason that the deck is that it's in the deck.
Well, I mean, of course, it being instant speed is important for it to work for the second half. But let me tell you, the fact that it is instant speed makes it so much better because like even if you're just like comparing this to like Harmonize or something where you're paying
Mhm.
for and guaranteeing those 3 cards, the fact that it's sorcery speed kind of like slows everything down. I don't
Yep.
know necessarily how much instant speed things that you are doing. That's not necessarily just like activating abilities that actually matters, but like I mean, this deck is going to come up with an exuberant amount of mana anyway. So being able to hold 3 mana or 4 mana or 5 mana in some cases just to leave abilities open isn't so difficult when on turn 6 you have 12 lands.
You're onto it, and that's why I included as many protection spells in the list as I could. And I actually I think that there's an argument for including even more. I've often thought that if I were going to power this down, like if I were going to take the game changers out of it,
Mm,
because I do have a worldly tutor in the deck
mm.
in the instant spot. If I were going to take that out, I'd probably just straight up replace it
Dawn's
with
Truce or
another
something.
protection spell. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like something very single protection space. But it's easy to hold up the mana for those protection spells. So I can move my own board forward significantly on my turn, leave 2 or 3 mana untapped, and then I'm holding up a protection spell to ruin whatever plans my opponents try to do to take out my stuff. And if one of those happens to be Inspiring Call, maybe I'm drawing an extra couple of cards as on top of that.
Yeah, one thing that like the reason why this deck is able to hold up so much mana, there's cards in here that just say, "Hey, all your lands have the ability to tap for mana of any color." So now all the artifacts you were playing, even like Roaming Throne or something like that, they're mana doors now. Solemn Sad Robot, mana door. Like
Yep.
Portal to Phyrexia, mana door. Who would have thought that was the thing that I would ever say? I'm happy I get to
Yep.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty, so that is the basics. So now we're gonna go ahead and segue into what we call the deck objectives. These aren't really necessarily like goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, but it's more like categories that aren't gonna necessarily fit into the basics that we want to talk about that kind of make the deck hum. So, what are the goals and themes of the decks? Mm,
So there, I could have done way more than 4 here, and we've already talked about that a little bit. Like, there's so many kind of overlapping things here. So I'd really I don't know that these are even necessarily the most important. These are just the ones I wanted to talk about.
yeah.
The objective 1 is recurable artifacts. These are the artifacts that we want to get earthbent so that we can probably, hopefully, sacrifice them and use them again. The second objective is landfall payoffs because there are some really significant payoffs for just having landfall triggers, a couple that are unique to this deck and really remarkably effective because of how they interact with the rest of the deck. Objective 3, I want to talk about the other earthbenders. So we've got our earthbending all-stars here. What are the best cards that have the earthbending ability on it? And then finally, we don't talk about it very much anymore, but we're going to talk about utility lands because one of the things that you mentioned as a weakness of the deck is that, if I don't have artifacts or I have my other earthbending cards and I don't have Toph, that I don't have artifact targets for my earthbending, but there are some fantastic lands that I can earthbend in the
Mm,
deck, and I
mm.
did that very deliberately. The land base in this deck is very thoughtful and deliberate. So fourth category, utility lands.
Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and go into my first card for recurable artifacts, and I picked, dare I say, a doozy. This card's a lot. This card's a lot of fun. It's not anything to write home to mom about or anything like that, but I picked the Might Stone and the Weak Stone. So the 5 mana legendary artifact Power Stone. And then it says, when the Might Stone and Weak Stone enters the battlefield, choose one. You can draw 2 cards, or target creature gets -5/-5 till end of turn. And then it can also tap tap to add 2 colorless. This mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells. So there's plenty of artifacts that you're going to be able to cast with the 2 mana that it comes with. And the ETBs are just so powerful. Either you're killing a problem commander, drawing 2 cards, and the fact that you can do it multiple times in one turn seems pretty solid.
So what you're thinking? Isn't this a white and blue card?
That's what
And
I brought that up when we were talking about it, because I was like, wait, what
yep,
about the backside? It has the blue white symbol in the bottom half of the Urza Planeswalker thing. So Tim.
right. And the answer is that the melded back of split cards does not have a color identity, or at least that's what my research showed. You can come at me in the comments if you want, but as far as I could tell, everything that I found said the Might Stone and the Weak Stone does not have a color identity. It is a colorless spell, and because because it only gets that color identity, it becomes a white and blue permanent when it melds and goes onto the back. So it does not inherently have that. So you can include it in a deck like this. So if I'm wrong, I'll take it out. I don't think that I am, but I think that it's a remarkable card for the list because of all the things that Zombie just said. And very often, remember that the mana that it produces just can't cast non-artifact spells. So you can cast artifacts, you can use it to activate abilities. So it's still mana that has use in a lot of different ways. At the very least, it is casting your next artifact, which is almost always good enough. But really, this is a great target for earthbending because it's so versatile.
Yeah. The fact that it's card draw or single target interaction
Yep.
makes it so good. And with it
And
being
like
so
good
reusable.
card draw. Yeah,
Yeah.
like two cards at a clip is a good rate.
Yep. I'll take 2 cards any day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. So Tim, what's the recurable artifact that you picked?
When you see this card in this deck, you're in trouble. I'm just going to say it out loud. This card is so busted in this deck. The card is Bright Glass Gear Hulk. This is from everyone's favorite set of last year, Aether Drift. That's irony, folks.
Bro.
Yeah, 2 green, 2 white for a 4/4 first strike trample artifact creature. When it enters, you may search your library for up to 2 artifact, creature, or enchantment cards with mana value 1 or less. Reveal them, put them into your hand. So this is a 4 mana tutor for 2 things that you can recur in this deck. And I just want to add to that it also is a fantastic thing to put a whole bunch of tokens on. Like if you earthbend this thing and make it very large, it is first strike and trample, so it becomes a very real threat. But more importantly than that, it gets the most vital card of the deck, which is Zurin Orb.
Ooh, what's
And we don't talk
Orb?
about it in we don't talk about it in any of the other categories, so we wanted to make sure that we we at least brought it up. But yeah, Zurin Orb, everybody's favorite old artifact, 0 casting cost. Just read, sacrifice a land, gain 2 life. So if you get Bright Glass Gear Hulk, you get Zurin Orb, you play it for free, you earthbend it on the end step, you do it again. So you just dug 4 cards out of your deck.
That's pretty sick, nasty card draw. So the real question is how many cards can it get? Well, okay. One thing I have to bring up about this card, and I'm talking directly to you, Wizards of the Coast. Are you listening? Why does it say 2? And why does it say artifact, creature, or enchantment? Like, it should have just said one of those 3 words. And it should have said 1, and it would still be really, really good. But man, they pushed this thing right off a cliff, man. It's ridiculous. So anyway,
The answer is currently 7. There are 7 targets for this.
This thing is drawing you 7 cards in 2 turns. Just putting it out.
Yes. Very, very likely. And they're all strong, right? Because Zurin Orb's on the list, but did I skip one? I think it might be 8. Because I think I skipped Sylvan Safekeeper. I don't remember. It's 7 or 8 currently. And I think that all of them are strong in their own way, but Zurin Orb is one of them. Skull Clamp is one of them. Soul Ring is one of them.
Soul
So
Guide
all
Lantern is one of them.
Soul Guide Soul Guide Lantern is one of them, and it's a sleeper hit in this deck because it hoses other graveyard decks.
Oof. Who needs rest in
So
peace,
I
people?
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everyone who gets Soul Guide Lantern. Looking at you, Dude Pot.
All our necromancy friends, stay away from this deck. Okay.
hmm
Yeah, Bright Glass Gearhulk is just an absolutely ridiculous card, and I'm done talking about it. So we're gonna go into my next pick in the landfall payoffs, and and I'm gonna go ahead and say it here. My card doesn't say landfall, but it goes in most landfall decks, and there's a good reason why. I am talking about Titania, Protector of Argoth. And it says, when Titania enters the battlefield, return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then, whenever a land you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 5/3 green elemental creature token. Lands are going to be going into their graveyard, especially if your artifacts count as them. You are going to be
What?
making so many 5/3s, it's unreal.
Mhm.
And the fact that you can just get your most important land that you just put into your graveyard. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you can't get artifacts this way because they're not lands
Right.
in your graveyard.
That's right.
But um, as you said yourself, your land base is very particular and it is very, very good to get. I mean, we have a whole category on utility lands. Just imagine either getting either of these two lands
Yes.
again.
Yep.
Uh, Like it's just the value is too unreal. And with this on the board, you will be dead in a matter of no time.
Yeah, I think that there's arguments for other creatures in this slot, but I really like the fact that this gets a land card back because there's lots of times where it's just a fetch land, and that's fine. And there's only I think I only put the on color ones in here because I don't really love having to fetch all of the time. But having them in the deck is just a no brainer if you're playing a landfall deck. So
Mhm.
I thought a small amount of them still made some sense. So a lot of times you're gonna have a fetch land sitting in there and be able to get that back and then get some more landfall triggers as a result of it.
And then
But this
also
is
get a
really
5/3
here
with just cracking it too. Like
just so. And again, landfall, earth bending allows us to hit those fetch lands with earth bend and get them back and do it again, or do it with artifacts like Commander Sphere, which
Mhm.
sacrifices itself and turns itself into a 5/3 with Titania. So when the deck goes infinite, which takes a lot of cards to happen, but when it goes infinite, this is one of the ways that it can win.
Yeah, it's really so. What card are we talking about? Well, what card are you talking about?
So this is one of the other ways that when the deck goes infinite, it can win. But I think this one is just a fun include. And I actually I'm trying to decide whether or not I think this is suboptimal or not, and I don't think that it is because of the way that it synergizes with the deck. I would argue that it's one of the best landfall includes that you can put in the deck, and I'm of course talking about Chocobo Racetrack. Do you remember this card, everybody? The uncommon from Final Fantasy. This is 3 and 2 green. It's an artifact. Whenever a land, it has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, create a 2/2 green bird token with whenever a land you control enters, this token gets +1/+0. So Chocobo Racetrack sees itself if Toph is on the battlefield and makes you your first bird. And then from there, bird is the word, and everything that you do makes more of them and makes the ones that are currently on the field bigger. So it is not uncommon for this deck to get 3 or 4 landfall triggers in a turn without really stretching that much at all, just
Yep.
in the natural course of things. So imagine an army of 6/2 birds coming at you. They don't fly because they're chocobos, and only certain chocobos fly, but it's still a very very powerful token generator. It is one of the only creature based token generators that I have in the deck. There's like at least 3 now that I'm thinking about it, but this is my favorite.
So something I want to bring up about this card. So Chocobo Racetrack said, "Zendikar Royal, hold my beer." because
It's true.
this card is just a strictly 100%
It's just better.
better version of that card. One, because
Absolutely.
especially in this deck, it's an artifact, not an enchantment.
Because it's an artifact. Yep.
Two, the creatures that are making get bigger when you make more creatures. So
Mhm.
the only problem I have with this card is the turn that it comes out, it makes it very difficult to track. Because like if you have a way to give your creatures haste, then you have one that's a 3, you have one that's a 3/2, you have one that's a 2/2. You like you just have like different powered birds as you go along. And then of course after that turn it just they all become the same, but
Then you just have two piles. You have the
yeah.
ones that entered this turn and the ones that entered any other turn. Yeah, I don't have that haste enabler yet.
It
So
Well, maybe one of the cards that I'm talking about might enter into
maybe.
Alrighty. So we're gonna go ahead and start talking about the Earth Bending All Stars. And man, I love the card that I picked, and I kind of want to see if I could maybe build a red green storm deck because of it, because I'm crazy and do things like this. But what we're talking about is Toph, Hard Headed Teacher. Is a 4 mana, 2, a green, and a red. Legendary creature, human warrior ally. It says whenever Toph enters, you may discard a card. If you do, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. And then whenever you cast a spell, Earthbend 1. If that spell was a lesson, put a +1/+1 counter on that land. The fact that it says cast a spell and not just cast an instant sorcery makes this so dumb.
It is.
This card's ridiculous.
It's arguably the most repeatable Earthbender. Like a lot of the other ones, almost all of them, as a matter of fact, do it when they enter, or they do it once a turn.
Yep.
So this one, you can do it multiple times in a turn, provided you're casting multiple spells. Which again, with the amount of mana that this deck traditionally creates, it's not unreasonable at all. And there's even some very very cheap artifacts in the deck. So, and really, like, I'm not even sleeping on that, like, getting an instant or sorcery back out of my graveyard. Really, like, having that ability, it's just pure upside because I'm pitching a land that I don't need because I've already got too many of them in my hand, and getting back an inspiring call or another protection piece or another removal spell. Like, all of my instants and sorceries are high value. They are all, like, they're all protection pieces, removal spells, or card draw. So, if I've already cast one of them, this Toph's getting another one of them back, and then earthbending some more stuff as a result. You can earthbend 3 or 4 creatures a turn with this.
I love the one sorcery that you picked. I actually didn't read this card until just now. Undo inversion. It says destroy all non-land permanents. That's just
Does
funny.
it?
Yeah, that's just funny.
Does it? Is that what it says? Is it also an MDFC that is
it is
in
an
land
MDFC.
itself?
It's so good. So I do have a question. Okay, so you earthbend onto inversion. Okay, the land is the backside. What happens when it comes back?
I think it just goes to the graveyard.
Okay.
Because it tries to come back on the front half and can't because it's not a permanent, and I think it just goes to the graveyard. So yes, it's an excellent note. Kids, don't earthbend your MDFCs unless what's on the other side of them is a permanent.
Unless it's a permanent.
Which neither of mine are.
Neither of your two are. Nope. In fact, they're both sorceries and they're right next to each other because there's only 2 sorceries in the whole entire list.
That's right.
Because why do you want to do things at sorcery speed, people? Why would you want to do that? All right, Tim, I talked enough. Let's go ahead and hear the card that you picked, which is way better than mine.
It may be, and I'm just going to dive right into it. The other Earthbender who I consider to be maybe the best Earthbender in the deck is Boomy Unleashed. Also, maybe the other best Earthbender in the show. Boomy Unleashed, 3, a red and a green, total of 5 for a 5/4 human noble ally. It has Trample. When it enters, Earthbend 4. When Boomy deals combat damage to a player, untap all lands you control. Pause for effect. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Only land creatures can attack during that combat phase.
We need to figure out how to turn him either into an artifact. Oh wait. Oh, there's another infinite combo. I just thought of it. Okay, it's not the best infinite combo in the world, but I'm gonna go with it over here, over with you right now. Okay, you have your commander out, right? You have Boomy out, and you have one of the best cards of all time, Liquid Metal Torque.
Liquid Metal Torque.
Target non-land permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. So
What?
you just Boomy all day long. That's how.
So check it out.
Okay, that sounded way worse than I intended. Don't demonetize us if we were monetized.
So yeah, Boomy, under very specific and correct circumstances, can create infinite combat phases, and it's not the infinite that I've been referring to the whole video, but it is one of the things that is possible. If you have a Shia on board and all of your things are lands, then as long as Boomy doesn't die, you give all your stuff indestructible, and then all of a sudden, actually, if a Shia is out, Boomy can Earthbend itself, and then it gets haste, so you can actually do it that turn.
Oh
So
man, that's funny.
this is why Boomy is so incredibly strong. It's also just 5 mana for a 5/4 that Earthbends for 4. Like
Yeah.
that, it's really solid just there. But it'll like obviously the second half of it makes it a must answer threat.
Yeah, that card's gross. I didn't even know that combo existed until I just thought about it. Reminds me of how when I build decks, I find combos and then by accident I'm like, oh wait,
Yep.
this is a combo in here. I think it's gonna stay.
Yeah.
Game's gotta end, right?
Yeah, you gotta end.
Alrighty. So I lost my spot in the script because I was just so excited about it. Okay, so we're talking
Boomy's a hell of a card.
Boomy's a hell of a card. I'll never financially recover from this. All right, so the card that I picked for the utility lands is, of course, the one, the only, Urza's Saga. There's a lot of words on this.
Y'all get it, right? Do we have to explain it?
Oh, I'm going to. Okay, so when it enters, you get a lore counter, which makes it tap for mana. Chapter 2 says you can get you pay 2, tap it to create a 0/0 colorless construct that gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. And then chapter 3, you search your library for an artifact with mana value or with mana cost 0 or 1 specifically. I say that on purpose for a reason. You put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. You turn this into, you Earthbend it. You get your best 0-drop Zorn Orb. It comes back. 2 turns, you're going to get another one.
Do it again.
Yep. And you're just going to keep doing it because why not? So the specific reason why I wanted to bring that up is because I have made this mistake in the past. I tried to get our good old friend, where'd he go? Esper Sentinel. And since he cost 1 white, it's not the specific cost of 1.
Right. Reading the card, right? Mana cost 0 or 1, not mana value 0 or 1.
Right.
So it's referring to, and if you look at the card really closely, you can see that it's actually like got the mana cost
it has the circle
around the 0 and the 1. So it is looking for a very specific mana cost. Good news is that there's a lot of very good cards in the deck that have those exact costs. There's Zurin Orb, obviously the most important card in the deck. Soul Ring, Skull Clamp.
Yep.
There are at least a few more. Expedition Map, Soul Guide Lantern.
Yeah.
So plenty of good targets for it. I'll tell you that, again, one of the things that makes it so good is that it sacrifices itself. Here we have yet another example of something that you don't need a sacrifice outlet to make it work. As a matter of fact, it's so good that it sacrifices itself and it gets you the sacrifice outlet, so you never have to think about that again.
Boop. Alrighty, so Tim, the land you picked brings joy to my heart. I didn't know this card existed
I
till
didn't know it existed. That's why I'm so excited about it. When I bought the cards to build this deck, I bought 2 of these because I was immediately like, I know this goes somewhere else. I don't know where it is yet, but I know it goes somewhere else. So the card we're talking about is Horizon of Progress. This is a colorless land, or it doesn't have any pips on it anyway. The first ability says tap, pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. Second ability is 3 generic tap. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Third ability, 1 mana, tap it, sacrifice Horizon of Progress, draw a card. So it's like Horizon Canopy. It's like the Horizon land cycle, but really kind of, again, pumped up. I had no idea that this card existed, and it is. I was looking for the other Horizon lands in the colors of this
yep,
deck, which there's only 2, and they're also in here.
yeah,
But I came across this and was like, this is in every way better. Like, if I have a
yep,
Horizon land in a deck and I've only got the one, I'm replacing it with this every day of the week.
yep,
This is just better, just upside, because you have that 3-man ability to tap to throw an extra land in if you don't have anything else to do. But really, again, the important part is that it sacrifices itself and it draws a card. So earthbending this, paying 1, comes you get another landfall, you get to draw a card, all the things the deck is trying to do, just in a very, very solid utility land.
yeah. Like just like reading this card, I'm like, oh, this goes great in Garth. This goes great in this. This goes great in
Yep.
this.
Kind of
And
a 5-color land and 5-color decks.
like, I mean, you're gonna run mana confluence anyway, but that card's $50 or whatever it
Yep.
might be these days.
This one's 2, less
It's
than 2.
$2. So, and like, especially in like a control shell, and this works really, really well because
Oh, what a great point.
if you hold this up, like hold mana up to do anything, right? And nothing happens that you need to worry about, I'm just gonna ramp for just because I can. Because it doesn't say activate only as a sorcery.
No,
Because
it does not.
It does not. And oh my god, this card is amazing. It should be more than $2. Don't listen to me, people. It should only be 50.
Yeah. Yeah, go out and buy a bunch of them. They're great. Like it's a like,
Yes.
and again, I know we have like crapped on utility lands in the past, and it seems like every episode that we've made since we did that, we're finding utility lands that are actually worthwhile. And this is autumn.
Yeah.
This one is definitely top of that list for me now.
So I just want to point out something that would be an interesting land to put in here. Not that it would be good, but it's just interesting because you could. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth could go in this deck because it doesn't
Okay.
have a black color identity.
Right.
So, what would make it good is it's a land that just turns on all your artifact lands and make them be able to tap for essentially colorless mana.
Right. So the deck has Yavimaya.
Has
We love to point out that it could include Urborg because it doesn't have any black mana pips
Yeah.
on it, so it doesn't have a color identity. It definitely could be in the deck. I would never, again, expensive card. The actual incremental
it's more
upside.
funny than good.
Yeah, it is.
It's more funny than good.
Although it is kind of good.
It's kind of good. Like if you have an
if you're-
extra Urborg, go ahead and remove a basic and put Urborg in.
Yeah, just throw an Urborg in there, and it will probably get you mana out of your
It'll do
artifacts.
fine.
It'll be
It'll
mana,
do fine.
but
It'll do
Mhm.
fine.
Before we wrap up this section and move on to the next one, we did want to spend a little bit of time talking about the combo that we've been kind of alluding to this whole time. And obviously, we've got the Boomy infinite combat step combo, but that one's very conditional. And the other one is as well. It's also at least 4 pieces, which makes it so it doesn't necessarily feel like a busted combo. Just that we wanted to give you all an idea what we're talking about. So the combo is essentially built around a Shaya, which most people are familiar with, but I'm going to read it just because we want to know what it does. 3 and 2 green for a star, power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. It's also an elemental, which is important because that Nissa digs it out. It says non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their other types. And the reason that this is good is that it turns all of your creatures into lands, and that makes it so that any of the creatures that earthbend when they enter can target themselves. So with Zurin Orb on the battlefield or any other infinite sack outlet. Zurin Orb's the most effective in this one, and I actually don't play that many because I'm not really trying to like race to this combo. With a sack outlet, you can and a Shia in play. You can play something like Toph the Blind Bandit, and it can target itself with the Earthbend. Sacrifice to the Zurin Orb, it comes back, you target itself again, and then every Zurin Orb activation is giving you life. So you've got at least infinite life. At that point, you also have infinite landfall triggers. So you've also got infinite creature deaths and a whole bunch of other infinite things, but most importantly to the deck, you've got infinite landfall triggers, which means our old friend Tanuk, who I talked about as a card draw spell, literally just removes everybody from the board, does infinite damage to all of your opponents, and the game is over. But again, it goes infinite in every other way. If if you've got the Nissa out or you've got the Cobra out, you've got infinite mana. If you've got anything that produces creature tokens like Titania, you've got infinite creature tokens as well. So that is the infinite combo we've been alluding to. You can, and again, I'm not ashamed of putting infinite combos in my decks because the games have to end. I'm not necessarily trying to rush to them. I just want a pressure release valve in case the game gets gummed up.
Yeah, and when it comes to, we say it all the time on this channel, a game's got to end. Especially when the games that we play are super late at night and we have to go to bed afterwards and we have to work in the morning. Sometimes it's good to have a game to just end. And here's the cool thing about this is you're not searching for it to get it done on turn 2. You're not getting it done on turn 5. This is probably happening pretty consistently by turn 7, but like here's the funny thing. In our game, I believe it went to 12 turns, and we didn't see really any of the combo pieces. We saw a couple of the like when it enters Airbend, but like we didn't see any of the other important pieces. So like we were still 2 or 3 cards away from even that.
I don't think Zurin Orb showed up until turn like 11.
Yeah, it was absolutely. And it was the perfect timing because you. Spoiler warning, you were at 1 or 5. I think you were at 5.
It was single digits, sure.
Yeah. And like it was just perfect timing, but like yeah, like, and that's what I love about decks that have combos in them but you don't search for them. It's nice to just being able to say, okay, I think I can win now. Because like, I mean, that's how my Garth One Eye deck works. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna win now. I hope you guys are okay with it. But like, but like, I
hope you're okay with it.
My SpongeBob deck doesn't have any combos in it, so it's like I have to overwhelm you, which it's very possible to do, but like, it's hard to do sometimes because
that's right.
So please have a. Like if I would make a suggestion, just have a combo, whether it be 2 to 5 cards, I could care less. Hell, have a Rube Goldberg machine that you call Garth One Eye, okay? Like that deck is a combo deck, and it's like a 70-piece combo because it's not infinite nor whatever, but it will still win with a combo. So have something.
Do it.
Yeah, do it. Do it. Okay, now I'm starting to sound like Emperor Palpatine. I should probably start talking about. We should probably segue into our next section, and this is probably one of my favorite sections. We're talking about the honorable mentions. These are cards,
unmentionables.
These are cards that we love gushing about cards, so we just wanted to have a little bit more time to gush about them. So, Tim, what's the first honorable mention that you got?
I love this card. I think it's the best card in the deck. Just not pulling any punches at all.
I agree.
The card is Survey Mechan. It's a 4-mana artifact creature. It's a 1/3 flying hexproof, which doesn't sound great when you first read the things. 4 mana for that? I mean, it's fine, right? But it also has the secondary ability that costs 10 that says sacrifice this creature. It deals 3 damage to any target. Target player draws 3 cards and gains 3 life. Also sounds bad, right? But then there's another line that says this ability costs X less to activate, where X is the number of differently named lands you control.
Okay, look,
So
look. Okay, so when I was reading this card, and I'm like, Tim, why is this card
why
in
is
your
this
list?
in here?
And I'm like, it's 4 mana. It's a 1/3 flyer. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yep.
This is bad stat lines. Okay, okay, hexproof. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. But like, this creature looks like crap anyway. And I'm like, 10 mana, sacrifice this creature. I was like, that is a very steep cost. I'm like,
Yeah.
Tim, why did you show me this card? It only deals 3 damage, and then you're only drawing 3 cards. I was like, okay, I think paying
10 mana is still a lot for that.
10 is a lot of mana for drawing 3 cards. And then, up. Gain 3 life, that's nothing. Who cares about that? And then I'm like, wait, there's still more words on this card. And I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense now because your artifacts are lands too. So this thing is going to cost 1, 2 really easily.
Yep.
I will say you do run a decent amount of basics in this list. I believe so. You're running
It's a lot.
12. You're running 12 basics, which is a lot more than what I normally run. But like even still, getting to 10 different names, like you can do that on turn 5 or something because
And
if you have enough
let's remember,
artifacts.
yep.
With your
Let's
commander
remember
out.
it counts itself.
It does count itself. Wow.
It counts itself. So
Oh my
you really
gosh.
only need nine other permanents with different land types. And again, if you're casting this turn 4 or 5, listen, I know I run a lot of basics, but you still, like, if you watching the game play out, you're almost always getting a different land type every
Yep.
turn. It's not like you're playing 4 basics and a non-basic. Like, you might have 2 in the first 5, but they're probably different. So you
Right.
still have 5 different land types
Yep.
out.
Yep.
And the reason I play so many basics, I have so many things that search for basics, and I don't ever want to fail to find. So there's a pretty significant reason for it. But yeah, this card's absolutely an all-star. I promise everybody, 12-cent card, go out and get this for your Toph deck. It absolutely deserves a spot. It will always remain in the deck.
I think it's only good in this list. I don't
That
think
might
it's
be
good
true.
anywhere else.
That
But
might be
it's
true.
really good here.
I need a foil one of these right now.
They need to make a special gold
Yeah.
border, like first
Yeah,
place edition or whatever.
I need a special one of these. It's going to be a USS Enterprise or something.
Yeah, I think it would be great. Okay, so I'm talking about so the card that I picked. I believe you have all 3 that you can have in
I do.
here.
I
Okay,
do.
so I'm gonna just say the one name, and that's Gruul Turf. But they're all he has one for each color combination that he can have, and Gruul Turf is the bounce land, and I can't believe I can't find it. Anyway, so Gruul Turf, it enters the battlefield tap. Makes me sad a little bit, but whenever Gruul Turf enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. And then it can tap to add a red and a green. So what makes this card so good is this might sound weird, but you could return a Portal to Phyrexia to your hand and then recast it. You could replay Sad Robot and do that. There's just so many good artifacts that have entered the battlefield triggers that it is just super solid. And having just that replayability of all your other artifacts is just unreal. And this actually, honestly, like the downside of it entering tapped is kind of bad. But like looking at your land base, I don't see a terrible amount of lands that just enter tapped.
I would say I probably have more in this deck than I do in just about any other commander deck that I currently am running because the bounce lands are in there and all three of the restless lands are in there. They are
Yeah.
the creature lands that they have a static when this attacks ability.
Mhm.
So if you earthbend them, they get their ability even if you don't activate them. And they're all like very marginally okay. None of them are like really, really good, but I just wanted to have actual man lands in there because I really thought that it was important to include at least a few, and they're the best ones. But they're so good in this deck because yes, you can bounce your artifacts and recur them, or you can bounce a cheap artifact and then lose the downside of having to bounce a land at all.
Yep.
And
You could
so
bounce
there's
Zern
and
Orb and just replay it for free.
and just replay it for free.
Yeah.
So you can bounce your MDFCs if you play them
Yep.
early. There's lots of really, really fantastic utility here. But again, the big part is that there's lots of artifacts that have enters abilities, and later on in the game, this just lets you pick them up and do it and play them again, which is remarkably potent late in the game.
Yeah. So just looking at your land base, there are 7 lands that hard enter tapped, and then 1 that's a
Yep,
soft. I say that because it says this land enters tapped unless you control a basic land, which is not that hard when you have 12 of them.
that's right.
So it's more than what I would like to see, but like the fact that like you can earthbend one of your restless lands and then activate it to kind of increase its power
That's
and
right.
give it the ability that like when it attacks it does this. Actually, no, it would get those abilities even if it was just earthbend.
That's what I
Because
was saying.
it
That's what
says
I was
yeah,
saying,
when
right?
it attacks another
Yep.
target attacking creature gets +2
Yeah,
plus
those are
0.
static abilities. Those are
Yeah.
not activated when you make it a creature. Those just always are. So yes, they have that ability no matter what.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. I think
Mhm.
those 3 specifically. And then the other manland that he has is Inkmoth Nexus.
Oh
Be
yeah.
careful. It will just it will just kill you. Um
Yeah, I totally forgot that it's in the list, but I think that it's like I think you have to because
it
really,
doesn't need
again,
to be,
you
but like why not have that?
why not?
What's the
Again,
opportunity cost, right? It's
nothing.
I will say it's an 11
It's a
or it's
color.
a $12 card.
It's a
Okay.
oh, okay, and it's a colorless land.
And it's a colorless land. You don't have too many of those. You have 1, 2, 3, 3-ish, 4
Yeah,
all
not
day.
not a lot. Yep.
So it's totally worth it. And like immediately lowering someone's life total from 40 to 10 if you're attacking with that creature is just too good to pass up. So
Yep.
alrighty, Tim. We're changing the format up a little bit, and we have a third card we want to talk about.
We have a third honorable mention, and the card that I want to talk about, the last honorable mention is Heaped Harvest, and this
Mm.
is just a pet card of mine, but I found a lot of lists that it's incredibly potent in, and this is yet another one of them. So this is a common from Bloomborough. It's 2 and a green for an artifact food. When it enters and when you sacrifice it, you may search your library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield tapped, and it also has the food ability, which is pay 2 generic, sacrifice Heaped Harvest, you gain 3 life. So, y'all can understand what's happening here, right? So, Heaped Harvest enters and digs you out of land. You earthbend it. It sacrifices itself. You have to pay 2, but it even with nothing else out, once it's earthbent, you don't have to do it immediately. The next turn you can sacrifice tap 2, sacrifice it. It gets another land out when it's sacrificed, and then another land out when the earthbend brings it back, and you gain 3 life to boot. So this creates one of those soft loops I'm talking about. If you earthbend and sacrifice this every turn, you're digging 2 extra lands out every turn until you run out of basics, which is why Tim runs 12 basics. Because this card and Lumbering Worldwagon which does a similar thing,
Mhm.
is they just get so many basics out of your deck so quickly and just leap you ahead in mana. But I just absolutely love this card. It does all the things the deck wants because it has an enters trigger, sacrifice trigger, and it sacrifices itself.
And I'm
Perfect.
going to go ahead and put this out there. If you didn't activate this twice in the game that we were playing, guess what, Tim? You're dead instead of being at 5.
That's right. Oh my god, you're right, because I gained 6 life.
You sure did?
Get out of town.
Don't you just love that plot armor, Tim?
Mm-hmm.
No, this card's just
Oh,
great.
oh,
Yeah. This card's just
Yeah,
great.
I could talk about it for a very long time, but just trust me when I say this should be in your top list, and there's a couple other lists. Anything that cares about artifacts, like, if you're in green, this should probably be something you think about.
Alrighty, so we're
Okay, last section, cards to consider. We like to think about what are some cards that aren't currently in the list that maybe we should think about adding. So I'm going to let Zombie take it first. What's a card you think I should think about adding to this list?
so this is a card that I ran into a really long time ago when I was a dirty Omnath of Locust Rage player because it was in that list, and it's a card all the way back from Odyssey. It is Need for Speed. It is a 1 mana red enchantment, which allows Bright Glass Gearhulk to get, by the way.
It does.
And it says sacrifice a land, target creature gains haste until end of turn. That's all it does.
It's just a free sack outlet. I mean, the deck is
There it
actually,
is.
if there's one criticism that I have of the current build, is that I'm significantly lacking in sack outlets because Sylvan Safekeeper is in the list, but it's actually kind of conditional because you will run out of creatures to hit with Shroud unless you have a perfect setup. So it's not, it's just that condition
Yeah,
will get in the way sometimes, I promise. This won't.
it does.
That you can keep targeting the same thing over and over, and frankly giving your creatures haste is not there's the real positive to that under the right circumstances.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I definitely think that this is worth considering. I actually think that there's probably a really good argument for this finding a place in the list. I'm not sure what I would take out for it. The only thing that
That's a
gives
tough
me
choice,
any
right?
pause at all is that it's an enchantment and not an artifact, which is not obviously a downside. It just means I can't really take out an artifact for it if I want to keep my
Right.
critical mass up. But still, excellent choice.
Yeah, that card's fun. All right, Tim, what card did you pick?
So I must admit that I actually considered both Need for Speed and the card that I'm going to talk about, and I just like went through lots of iterations of the deck before I finally put it in paper. And this one didn't make the list, but I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I hadn't actually played it yet. I had only fishbowled it, and that now that I've played it a little bit, I'm a little bit keener on thinking about this. And the card is our old friend Goblin Welder. This is a 1 mana Goblin Artificer. It's a 1/1, 1 red mana. Tap. Choose target artifact a player controls and an artifact that player controls in their graveyard. If both targets are still legal as this ability resolves, that player simultaneously sacrifices the artifact and returns the artifact card to the battlefield. It's worded very specifically for a lot of different
Word
reasons, but
really weird.
the translation here is sacrifice an artifact, return an artifact to
Yep.
the graveyard to the battlefield. It can't be the same artifact. That's why they worded it the way, so you couldn't just loop the same artifact. But 1 mana, again, opportunity cost. Bright Glass Gearhulk could get it if I needed to get something back out of my graveyard. Like if there was a portal of Phyrexia or some other really important artifact in my graveyard, this could get it back. Even Bright Glass Gearhulk, like you could Bright Glass Gearhulk for this.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you didn't have an earthbending thing, you could sacrifice the Bright Glass Gear Hulk, cast this, and then get it back next turn.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's really worth considering just for redundancy, just to get stuff back when it dies. Because
Yeah.
when you're just playing solitaire, you can't really figure out how much your stuff is going to die. Having stuff in your deck that can get it back is usually valuable, and this is a pretty good option for that.
And here's the card that I would immediately just knee jerk to go towards, and that is Black Panther Wakanda King. Like, don't get me wrong, that's a good card. The problem that I have with it is it's kind of slow, right? Because it's wanting you to
It is.
put creatures into play, but you're really wanting to put artifacts into play. And don't get me wrong, some of your artifacts are creatures. But I think um the value that you're getting from Goblin Welder is going more towards what you're going for than what Black Panther's doing.
That's a good note. That's a
Yeah,
great note.
yeah.
Yeah, I could
Because you're
definitely
not
get
really
there. I think
trying.
a
You're
good
not trying to go tall with your creature lands. Like, honestly, you're not. Like, that's what Black
no,
Panther does,
it
and
can, but that's not really why it's
it
there.
also
It's
draws you
really
cards. It draws
it's a
you a
card draw
card.
spell.
It gains you
Yep.
life. So, like, don't get me wrong. Black Panther is a good card for this deck, but like, just looking at your list in particular, I think that's the immediate spot that I see for Goblin Welder.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It
Yeah.
definitely does.
Man, we've done a lot of
Okay.
talking.
We sure have. We've gushed about a lot of cards. Just as to wrap up, I will say that I love this deck. I'm like I we build a lot of decks. Some of them we build in paper. Some of them we just build online, and we just kind of like kind of theory craft them. But I actually built this deck, and I have been playing with it, and I love it. I think it's an enormous amount of fun because it really does bend the rules of the game, if you'll forgive the pun. And I just love that. I love that it made me like it was such an interesting and creative deck building opportunity that I'm really in love with this deck. Really looking forward to playing it more and more over the course of the upcoming year.
Yeah, I like this deck a lot too. So
All right, friends, opponents, it is time for us to put our pet rocks to bed. Thank
yeah.
you kindly for spending time with us on the Head Games Commander podcast. Remember, you can support our show, all of our other content, by watching this and our other videos over on our YouTube page. You can check out our streams on Twitch and YouTube, and you can find all those links in the description.
But before we scoop things up, we want to hear from you, the think tank. Why does metal bending sound so painful? But really, folks, what cards would you play in Toph? And what commander would you like to see us build and spotlight in the future? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for playing along with us and have a wonderful day. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you really want to see Toph bend that metal and smash face, click this video right here.